Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. The lovely Leah is actually wearing a very beautiful bright green shirt.
Am I?
And I am so pulling my hair out with the coloring here. She is not wearing this. It's literally like shamrock green, and I'm looking.
It's the color of my earrings, actually.
It's the brightest green ever.
Have picked up the right color, but this is green.
But so today she's wearing black. You do look very pretty today. It's totally green. I mean, pick up that family cow book. It's the color. No, the cow one. It's literally the color of that. Let's see what color it picks up. Now show them that color.
It's black.
Now put it real close. Wow, I have no idea what's going on with the coloring. I'm gonna work on it, but it's literally not the right color.
This family cow book is green.
It is a green book. Today is the 6th of October, 2019.
Colorblind.
Yeah, kind of. It's our Around the World in 2 hours show. We might make it a little bit shorter today because we ran late. I'm so sorry that we've been late lately.
Yeah, we've had a lot
later than normal.
Late. Yeah, don't, if you're going to take a little nap, don't slather yourself in, like, super calming essential oils. So it's just a bad idea. A lot of late nights and early mornings is what we do. Because we're out late and we're up early.
We party all night long. That's what we do. We party hardy.
With four-legged creatures.
Oh,
all right, so
chimeras.
We're going to go. We got a lot to cover.
Yes.
There was a terror attack in France. They're not wanting to call it that. So they're being really cautious and saying a radical Islamist extremist killed 4 co-workers in a police station.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to
how
cover
that.
But I really want to dive right into this Hong Kong. It's still the what do you want to call it? The protests are still happening right now.
And it's been elevated.
Have catapults. I'm not even kidding you. They have built a catapult out of bamboo. Let's listen to this Hong Kong protester talk about his desire for freedom. They are fighting for survival and trying to achieve what we have here in America.
I have a YouTube channel, I don't care. But today, we do this on purpose. Okay? The police force in Hong Kong is completely under the command of the Chinese Communist Party. It's the tyranny, which is the existential risk of humanity. Understand this? Sorry? It's not just the bill. The bill has been withdrawn, right, if you have not mistaken. But the thing is, Hong Kong has changed. Hong Kong, we are fighting for freedom and survival, okay? And the world should know, if Hong Kong falls, the whole world falls, okay? Because the Chinese Communist Party is the existential risk of humanity, period.
Well said. That was okay. And that's the thing. So we have somebody, I don't know if you guys have noticed, and Johnny, I will speak directly to you because he asked, don't you guys respond to comments? And Johnny has been leaving a ton of comments about Hong Kong, but his mindset is more of the mindset of those young people that we saw, that like he kind of agrees with us on almost every other subject except for the fact that China mainland, they're doing the right thing. Hong Kongese people are insane and all this, that, and the other. And you're always leaving all these comments and my heart goes out to you. Okay. But it's something that I can't really explain to you, that in the westernized world, we can see what I think you guys in China, things are censored and you don't get to see the full picture. And we get that communism is actually evil at its very core because it strips away individual rights. And so when we look at the Hong Kong protesters, we see people wanting their individual rights, their individual sovereignty of life, and
not just their actions, but of their thoughts.
Yeah.
Of religion, of speech, of movement.
Yeah.
And all of that is taken away. If you live in mainland China, China has become a make-believe. We just watched Spider-Man. And
The newest one.
And I'm spoiler alert. Turn away.
You can't spoil alert
I
for
am
people.
spoiling or alerting.
Okay,
Okay. Holograms are used. How about that?
Okay.
Holograms are used, and it's not what you think it is. So what the Chinese party has used is a hologram of a religion.
True.
And put inside these people's minds from the inception of childhood that we are all knowing. And they use holograms and they use facial recognition and they use technology to make it look like they are God.
Yeah.
To make it look like they are all knowing. But guess what? God doesn't need holograms. He actually knows what's in your thoughts without going through your emails, without going through your texts,
Very
without overhearing conversations, okay? The real God is loving and kind and wants you to get up every day and do what you think is right, okay? We have in America life, liberty, and the pursuit of property, pursuit of happiness. And you do not have that in China because they are God. And that China one policy, China one mind. It's the hive mind. If you ever seen Star Trek, especially Deep Space Nine, they talk about the Borg a lot. The Borg are one mind, but it's ruled by one wicked queen.
Right,
okay,
right.
so you have China, and it's ruled by a handful of wicked people who tell everybody else that we know what's best for you.
Right.
Well, I'm going to tell you that you know what's best for you, and that's the difference.
I like it.
So here's the catapult made out of the bamboo. Whoa.
I hope you guys can see it. Yeah.
When you have an engineering degree and you become a protester. I'm not sure it went far enough.
They don't have any weapons. I mean, they've got nothing.
So we're going back to the Stone Ages.
What else did you want me to tag in this? I've got Hong Kong.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Douglas Murray. We're going to Italy. Okay, so Hong Kong protesters build makeshift catapult on the third day of unrest over anti-mask law. Okay, and speaking of the anti-mask law, they have over here. They have created their own anti-facial recognition device. Here, look at this. Look at this anti-facial recognition device. There's really I don't think there's any sound to it. And give it a second. I'm going to make it small so you can kind of see how it works here.
Oh, wow.
It'll clear up. But it puts a different, like a face on your face. So you can go around without them finding who you are.
No way.
Yeah.
It's literally a holographic projection onto your face.
Right.
That the cameras cannot decipher the difference between that face and your face.
Right.
That's
a
fascinating.
face there.
That's fascinating. I wonder how much that tech costs to be able to have something like that, though.
I don't know, but fight fire with fire, I guess, right?
Wow.
Carrie Lam's hoped that her new anti-mask edict would help quiet the protests unfortunately didn't pan out. Rather, in retaliation, the protesters took to the streets on Saturday and Sunday in another round of violent clashes with police. Sunday marked the third straight day of unrest and demonstrations over the mask ban. Many Hong Kongers took to the streets as soon as the ban was announced on Friday, and firms with a large presence in Hong Kong, including HSBC and Ernst & Young, warned employees to work from home on Friday and through the weekend. That proved to be a precedent decision, as in at least one incident, a group of protesters was filmed beating up a young JP Morgan banker who had the temerity to defend Beijing by shouting, "We are all Chinese."
Wow.
thing, and we do not condone violence of any kind on this show.
Right.
You have Antifa, you have bad people going in there, you like an Antifa type person when you get out of control. But at this point, it is kind of a war, and they see the bankers as sellouts to China. I'm explaining I'm not excusing it whatsoever. Anyway, according to the SCMP, 2 groups of protesters, many of them covering their faces in direct defiance of the mask bill, marched on routes from the East Point Road, blah, blah, blah.
So now if they see you in a mask, they can just come arrest you.
Yeah. After Hong Kong's entire MTR transit system was shuttered, I believe on Friday, maybe Thursday, due to these vandals, protesters came together and caused even more damage to the train stations on Sunday. At the Mong Kok station, a locus of violence and mayhem on Sunday, 3 black-wearing protesters smashed the CCTV cameras, spray-painted walls, and caused general mayhem. Others joined in and caused graffiti in the station here.
Really built those strong, haven't they?
Yeah, those are not easy, I guess, to destroy.
Oh my gosh.
The extent of the damage throughout the evening was severe.
It feels like we're living in a movie of what's happening. I mean, with the surveillance and them being able to just track you down, and then the people fighting back. You know, I mean, it doesn't get any more. Well, you can't write a plot like this. This is real deal.
And I do wonder how history will paint.
I think it'll depend on their success and victory. I think that in China, in mainland China, we already know how history will write it. I think, though, if Hong Kong gains their freedom, I think that the history books might paint it properly.
Will we be on? Well, we want to still be here tomorrow, so we'll keep it to a minimum.
So Britt Bozza says, Michelle, in the UK, they are trying out facial recognition and are arresting people for covering their faces here too. Now, I was actually thinking as we were talking about this, how do we meld the idea that we have kind of been behind the laws that say that you can't cover your face in some of these more terrorist prone areas. You know what I mean? So, like, if you're Johnny and you're in China, you view these guys as terrorists. Mm-hmm. And because they're committing violence against property and police and so on and so forth. So, how do you draw the line?
5 demands, not 1 less. And here they are again with the
umbrellas. So, it's obviously raining there right now. I mean, it looks wet, and so the umbrellas are useful to. I mean, besides
for the facial recognition.
Exactly, I know, but I'm just saying. Can they tell you you're not allowed to carry an umbrella when it's raining? No.
Even though the anti-mask law purportedly exempts those who wear masks for professional or health reasons, Hong Kong police were seen harassing 2 journalists over their gas masks. Who said journalists can wear masks? Does the law grant you the privilege to wear a mask? Are you a police officer who is carrying out his duties? The reporter removes the mask. Another 2 reporters are also questioned by police. Reporters are not exempt.
Wow.
After protesters on Saturday destroyed dozens of ATMs during a rampage across the city, the Hong Kong Association of Banks warned on Sunday that cash refills to certain banks and ATMs would likely be delayed. Even as protests died down elsewhere in the city, a hardcore group of radicals in Mong Kok threw Molotov cocktails and police barricades and caused general mayhem in what can only be described as creative triumph for the protesters. Then we saw the Catapult. And then, I guess, a handful of mask-clad demonstrators used bamboo scaffolding and countless zip ties to make a makeshift
So, Britt Bozza says, Michelle, if people wear a burqa, they are allowed to walk past the facial recognition cameras, though, because of religious beliefs. Well, here's the issue that we have with that here in China, is that Muslims are taken to camps. You won't get the Muslim exemption in China.
Exactly.
You're not going to get it.
Exactly. You're not going to get it. As far as ATMs go, as Hong Kong ATMs run out of cash, central bank steps in to prevent public panic.
Oh, wow.
And that's the way, if you want to start public panic, the best, the only way to really do it is to make it so that there's no electricity. Because people really freak out when there's no electricity. And I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying that's where, like...
I don't think anyone that we have watching our show has the power to drop the grid.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that, like, if you want to shut something down, we've talked about the end of the world happening and, like, cash, food, right. But, like, it's really the electricity that's going to really throw everybody off if there's a apocalypse. As the violence in Hong Kong escalates with every passing week, culminating on Friday with what was effectively the passage of martial law when the local government banned the wearing of masks at public assemblies, a colonial era law that is meant to give authorities a green light to finally crack down on protesters at will. One aspect of the Hong Kong life seemed to be surprisingly stable. No, not the lack of local economy. Not the local economy, as Hong Kong retail sales just suffered its biggest drop in record. We're talking about the local banks, which have been remarkably resilient in the face of the continued mass protests, and that the ever-rising threat of violent Chinese retaliation which could destroy Hong Kong's status as the financial capital of the Pacific Rim in a heartbeat and crush the local banking system. In short, despite the perfect conditions for a bank run, the locals continue to behave as they didn't really care. Only now is that changing, because one day after a junior JP Morgan banker was beaten, we saw that in broad daylight, the SCMP report confirms that the social upheaval has finally spilled over into the financial world. According to the Hong Kong publication, the local central bank, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, was forced to issue a statement warning against a malicious attempt to cause panic among the public. And while the de facto central bank stressed that the banking system remained robust, the banks were negotiating with logistic firms to refill these cash machines, as 5% of them had run out of money.
So here's what I'm curious about. So these cash machines have run out of money. Well, we have protests that are happening. So have they run out of money because the people that have the cash that normally go there can't get there because there's too many protesters?
Right.
Have they run out of cash because there has been a run on cash money because there is so much upheaval happening? Or have they run out of money because the banks don't have the money to put in them because there is an economic kind of instability or even potential collapse happening in Hong Kong because of the protests? I mean, there's 3 different scenarios there that could be a possibility.
So Lam had a video message, and of course, urging Hong Kongers to shun the protesters. However, one of the marchers, a 22-year-old, said she is making us a target, even though we are the ones fighting for our freedom as Hong Kongers. Masks hold an important symbol in Hong Kong. We used masks during the SARS, the severe acute respiratory syndrome outbreak in 2003.
I was going to ask about that. A lot of people in a lot of Asian countries
had to wear it.
They still do. They just kind of do, like, listen, I'm freaked out. There's germs. There's stuff that can happen. You see a lot of people that, for personal reasons, wear medical masks all the time.
And to protect herself against tear gas, it's a symbol of resistance, and you cannot take that away from us. It's a symbol of resistance for them. Early on Saturday, Secretary of Security made a similar appeal to the public to stop supporting the rioters. So I am going to just kind of leave this here. I'm going to just kind of monitor the situation as best as we can, because taking, outside without clear goals, without... they don't have a leader, and you're going to have these one-off people in the midst of their resistance, in the midst of their fight for independence, that are going to take things out of hand. However, they've decided, these Hong Kongers have decided, we don't want to be under Chinese rule. And I think that even by YouTube standards, even our government goes into places, they encourage the uprising in Venezuela. They encourage uprisings all over the world. This is not, and the reason we don't see America really getting involved, or the world getting involved, is because they're not involved, and they don't know what to do with an uprising against tyranny that they're not involved in, and they don't controlling.
Well, hang on, though. Actually, the actual word that you're looking for...
They didn't orchestrate.
No, they don't have a stake in it. All of these other countries that we look at, it's usually
Venezuela's
oil.
oil.
It's usually gas. Mm-hmm. It's usually some sort of...
They don't get something out of it.
Exactly. So we're not going to have an intervention here in Hong Kong because it doesn't profit us to do so. It's really a showing of the hand. If you wanted to keep up the guys, America, UK... If you wanted to keep up the guys that, no, we're just doing this because it's humanitarian.
Well, let me put it this way.
Then they would intervene here in Hong Kong.
Is the Chinese government a legitimate government? And in my eyes, they're not. Because Chairman Mao, he started a revolution. And his revolution was as bloody as all get out. Yeah. Killing over 45 million people. And we're supposed to say, oh, well, now it's the government? Yeah. You know, now we're supposed to go with this Chinese takeover? I don't get it. And I don't get why we have to sit by and say, you know what? China has a legitimate claim over Hong Kong. Right. And if there are wars being fought all over this country, and it's okay to say... Libya is fighting against Saudi Arabia. If I talk about Libya fighting against Saudi Arabia, they're not going to take me off here too.
Chairman Mao was roughly like, what? How many, like 100 years ago?
Chairman Mao was in the 40s and 50s. It was not long ago. Right. They just celebrated the 70th anniversary of the revolution.
Okay, so it's actually, this is perfect for my example here. We're looking at Israel, right? They are a state. They are a country. Okay. And we've got the Palestinians that are still fighting for that land back. And we have people that are just so upset and their panties are in a wad because they can't stand the idea. And they still say that they have this rightful claim, 70 years later, 80 years later. And nobody's doing that to, like, China. Nobody's saying, well, we had this big takeover. Okay, and now what we see that's totally different between Mao and Israel, I'm not trying to compare that because we see that the whole world got behind Israel and said, okay, you need a place. This was awful that happened to you.
If the whole world put Chairman Mao into place for a safe refuge for Chinese people and it was bloodless.
But why aren't these people that, like, even on our Resistance Chicks Facebook page, are these Bernie people that are obsessed with Palestine? Are they equally fighting for the Hong Kong people?
Communism. No, it's so weird. Yeah. It's so weird to me. It's so weird. Let's see. It's just so weird. Let me see. All right, so let's go to Paris, France.
Oh, Paris.
Yeah, so this week there was a terror attack. A Paris police worker stabbed 4 colleagues to death. Now, of course, the media's biggest rush is to make sure that when there's a stabbing, that they don't call it a terror attack. Because suddenly, then the mobs come out or something like that. He followed this. He followed radical vision of Islam and agreed with terror attacks, including the Charlie Hebdo massacre, says the prosecutor. So crazy. A civilian police worker who slaughtered 4 colleagues in a frenzied knife attack adhered to a radical vision of Islam, said an anti-terror prosecutor. The assailant was a 45-year-old computer expert, Michael Harpin, had been in contact with members of the Salafist Islamist movement, said the prosecutor. The attacker agreed with certain atrocities committed in the name of that religion and defended the Charlie Hebdo attacks in 2015 which rocked Paris.
Abominable Snowman says they immediately arrested the wife. That equals terrorism.
He had also changed his attire in recent months and wished to no longer have certain kinds of contact with women. Here's men in balaclavas walk outside the building in Genoese where Michael Harpin lived. So I'm guessing these are the anti-terror police who do not want to be recognized. Military personnel blocked the bridge near Paris. Here's 3 police officers and an administrative worker. 3 men and a woman died in a frenzied 30-minute knife attack on Thursday at the police headquarters, which is just a stone's throw away from the Notre Dame Cathedral. That caught fire, and no one has told us how.
It spontaneously combusted.
while other churches randomly are being set on fire.
Before you finish reading that, can I
France.
just, and I don't want to have to do this, but I am going to do it anyway because I can. It's my show. 30 minutes. How does one guy kill 3 police officers that are supposed to be trained? I mean, I get the administrative worker with a knife, and it takes 30 minutes. Oh my gosh. Like, this is horror movie type situation.
Yes. The assailant was eventually shot dead by police. 2 other people were injured in the Thursday lunchtime stabbing spree that sent shockwaves through an embattled French police force already complaining of low morale. 27,000 police officers went on strike for low wages. Sources
Do you think the morale could be down because some of the police sympathize with the protesters and don't like that they have to go out against their brothers and sisters and stuff?
Possibly. Sources at the Paris prosecutor's office said on Friday the case had been passed to the anti-terrorist prosecutor's office. So, it was a terror attack. After early inquiry suggested that the attacker, a convert to Islam, could have become radicalized. And I guess that's him. He was shot dead. So quite, So the assailant was born on the French overseas territory of Martinique in the Caribbean. Sources say that he had worked in a section of the police station dedicated to collecting information on jihadist radicalization.
Okay, so this is what happens when you're an impressionable person. And so there are some times that certain jobs, you know what it kind of reminds me of?
It has links to a hate preacher who is known to French intelligence agencies who obviously lives in France.
You've heard of these investigators into child pornography, and then they end up hooked on it themselves.
And they did arrest his wife, thank you.
And so it's kind of like one of those things, like, you have to really be careful. You need to be, like, strong of mind. Why do you think that these jihadis are able to recruit people? Because there's a catch there. There's something there that draws people in.
For the punchline?
Yeah.
They also found texts between Harpin and his wife shortly before the attack, which mentioned the 33-centimeter ceramic knife. She says, Ilham, only God will judge you. Allahu Akbar.
Wow. That's really upsetting.
Only God will... It's not upsetting. It's like, what's upsetting to me? No, I'm sorry. What's upsetting to me is that you're not allowed to immediately come out and say it's a terror attack. She says, only God will judge you. He mentions the knife, Allahu Akbar.
But what kind of wife? You have to be crazy as a wife to know that your husband, to be supportive of your husband going out to commit an act that's going to end in either your death or your imprisonment.
In these radical terror movements, it's a family affair.
I know.
Because they think they're going to go to heaven. Ilham, who was arrested shortly after the attack, told the detectives that Harpin had heard voices and was incoherent and suffered a dementia attack the night before.
Though I'm telling you,
but only God will judge you.
It's demonic. This is the devil.
It is.
Okay, in order to commit this kind of act of murder, you have to be possessed by the devil. Always the devil.
No, mind hallucination drugs. It could be just totally spiritual.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it is spiritual.
Sure, I get you.
But mind hallucinating drugs and brainwashing, where we've seen the movies. They grab the guy and then I would count the brainwashing
as demonic as well, but yeah.
But they train you. But there's one that's just
I know what you mean. I get you.
Literally, they take you and train you, and they brainwash you, and they put images in your brain, and then they give you, so he sounds like he was up on something. Wow. Following a raid on the couple's flat in the Paris suburb of Genoise, anti-terrorist prosecutors in the French capital have opened an inquiry for the assassination of a public servant in relation to a terrorist enterprise, attempted assassination of a public servant in relation to a terrorist enterprise, and conspiracy and terrorism. So it's a terror attack, and that's being downplayed by the media. Hush, hush. I mean, thank God.
I can't even have a nice look on my face right now. I'm really sorry.
Thank God for the Daily Mail to bring facts.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the Daily Mail, we have no real
Nobody
facts.
is covering this.
Computer records and telephone intercepts have also linked Harpin to a radical Islamist group such as ISIS or Al-Qaeda. But hey, it could just be, workplace, disagreement.
Let me ask you this, though. So let's say somebody goes in and they don't have any malice towards people that they're going to kill. And so when would be a situation like that it's not classified as terrorism? Because I know that terrorism is meant to invoke terror to further a political or religious ideology. Okay, so I'm just trying to think of a crazed person that has ever really done that it wasn't terror related. Like, you couldn't call it terrorism. Just randomly picking people for no reason and just kind of,
it seems like,
you know, just killing them without having a motive.
With a ceramic knife, it's not metal detector. There's no metal detector. So he was smart enough to do that.
But how stealth was he? Because those ceramic knives break.
Colleagues say he was a trusted employee and had full security clearance to work in the IT department.
Oh my gosh.
So there you have that. Yeah. So crazy. While we're in France, Marine Le Pen's daughter is right now the second most approved a politician in all of France.
So who's the first?
I read it in the article. I don't recognize the name. I have to bring it back up.
Okay, but it's not Marine Le Pen. So we like her.
Marine Le Pen is number 3.
So we like her niece. It's not her daughter. It's her niece.
Her niece. Sorry, did I say daughter?
I think you did.
Okay.
Better than they like.
A little bit. Yeah, I think that because it's like a couple steps removed from, I guess, Marine Le Pen's dad, who they don't really care too much for. I don't know if I have that one up. I wanted to bring that up because there's a lot of stuff still going on in France. I want to bring you.
Caitlin wants to know, I've never heard of gelatin leaves before.
Just use gelatin the best that you can.
Okay.
Just like a tablespoon.
Leah is our resident ice cream maker. She makes ice cream from scratch. This is delicious. And a friend is asking for
You can tell her I use 1 leaf to 1 tablespoon of gelatin.
Okay.
Okay. So, France, majority of right-wingers back a populist conservative alliance. And so this, I wanted to bring you good news. I'm in the midst of the craziness, and pray for the victims and pray for the victims' families. And I don't ever want to just bring you something for sensationalist sake, because we talk about these terror attacks, and what we're trying to do is make it so that they don't happen, because 4 people's family members are not coming home, and this shouldn't be
right.
Okay, there are accidents in this world, and then there are things that are totally preventable. Okay. And so I do believe that under Salvini, he was stopping what would kind of come in to destroy his country. And I will give you an update, that with Salvini kind of out of power, they've seen a kind of a huge rush of more migrants coming in. But what that's going to do, in the short term, it's going to be bad. I mean, there's an island, which one was it? There's an island off of the coast of Italy that is just kind of being shut down. They can't process all these illegal migrants. And the Italian people are struggling, and the more that they struggle, the more they want Salvini. And so, okay, it's
only a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time. So I want to bring this story to you. In the midst of this terror attack, which is horrible and awful, that the French people themselves, the Gilets jaunes, are actually a people of the people. Of course, you have some crazy guys in there, but when you listen to what they're asking for, they don't like Macron. They don't necessarily like globalism or control and things like that. And you have the traditional conservatives, and then you have what's the Marine Le Pen, the kind of quote populist party over here, and a majority of French right-leaning people support an alliance between the conservative Republicans and Marine Le Pen's populist national rally. This Odox poll revealed that immigration is the most important issue to right-wing voters right now in France.
Wow.
Who represented around 24% of the total number of people surveyed. 61% of the right-wing supporters said that they would back an electoral alliance between the conservative Republicans and the populist National Rally. 2/3, 66% of the National Rally supporters favor a coalition. The most popular political figure among the French right wing with a 76% favorability is former French President Nicolas Sarkozy. Marion Maréchal, I think you say it, the niece of Marine Le Pen, is second in place with 59%. Miss Maréchal recently spoke at a conference in Paris, which Candace Owens, I believe, went there to speak on the topic of uniting the French right. She also called on right-wingers in France to resist and fight the Great Replacement, a theory regarding the rapid demographic shift in Western nations as a result of mass migration. The first major challenge, the most vital, is the Great Replacement, this demographic countdown, which already makes us realize the possibility of becoming a minority in the land of our ancestors. She added that the consequences of the Great Replacement would be a multicultural society that wants to be fractured and violent. Marine Le Pen came in third in the favorability poll with 56%. According to Le Pen, she wanted a referendum to talk about, to make a referendum on yes or no immigration, birthright citizenship, or family reunification. These are questions to which the French people have a right to answer, have a right to be questioned. And because it's been for the past 30 years that an immigration policy which is contrary to their will has been carried out. So there are people who are making movements and inroads all over the world. There are people who are waking up. There are people who are going to the mattresses. They're fighting the good fight. And the establishment, you could say, the police forces, the government forces are fighting back.
Yeah.
We know that Marine Le Pen, who still hasn't been in jail for, but she was investigated over one.
That puts her in
picture,
the good category. We got Trump being investigated, and
one picture that she posted of a beheading that said, "This is Daesh," which is like ISIS.
Yeah,
and that is ISIS,
legit.
So she was interviewed for that, which is so incredibly weird. But that's what it looks like. So there are people who are taking on, and so thank God for these people who have been called by God to stand up and make a difference. We're gonna go to the Dutch farmers in a second. It's pretty hilarious what they did this week. But at a Catholic art festival, has the left and pro-abortion lobby all in a tizzy because of a Virgin Mary statue. It was called Notre Dame des Innocents, and it was a larger than life-size bronze depiction of Mother Mary reaching down in compassion toward a number of babies whose lives were taken in the womb. The work was chosen as a symbol of this year's
biennial. Yeah. I don't think that's what that is.
No.
Biennial. I don't know what that word is.
A contemporary of sacred art, which is Ode to Life. The title of the work was Our Lady of the Innocents, and invokes the holy innocents massacred by King Herod after the birth of Christ in an effort to kill the newborn king of the Jews. But the pro-abortion people say this statue is in bad taste and offends by the negative message it sends about abortion. In fact, for us, this is part of the general atmosphere that aims to make the women who have abortions feel guilty.
Or every other year, an event that happens every 2 years.
And so it's what's so funny is that
I think it's just biennial.
Okay, well maybe it's a French word for it. So here we have these babies here. And it's our statue of the innocents, and let's see if we can get a good Our Lady Mother Mary. It's in France, but let's see if I can get a good picture of it. There you can kind of see it in the background, and they're upset because they're supposed to represent babies. It's French. So you can kind of see it in the background there. She's reaching down to the babies, and it's supposed to be representative of babies lost in abortion.
She's got tears coming down her eyes.
Yeah, she has tears. But, of course, pro-abortionists have to find a reason to hate on everything, and so they hate babies. So there you have it. Charlie Hebdo boss blasts leftist collaborators in new book on the 2015 terror attack. The head of Charlie Hebdo, which had a huge terror attack, has blasted leftists and others in a new book about the 2015 radical Islamist terror attack on the satirical French magazine's office. Laureate Soresu, more commonly known in France as Riz, tells the story of the terror attack in January 2015 that claimed the lives of 12 people, the majority of his fellow Charlie Hebdo writers and cartoonists. While the book, titled 1 minute 49 seconds, describes the moments of the attack, part of the book also speaks out against the Islamic radicals who sought to silence the satirical magazine through the violence. Riz's anger also targets those he terms calaboos or collaborators. He includes several categories of people such as the reactionary Muslims, the Trotsky Stalinites, the cowards, the followers of secularism, the informers of Islamophobia. He also described the direct aftermath of the shooting as he saw the body of one of the victims, saying he was a 25-year-old friend. To reach the exit, I had no alternative but to step over him. Assisted by the fireman, I resolved to this gesture that made me ashamed. I ask you 1,000 times for forgiveness, my friend. I could not do otherwise. In a prior interview with the French magazine Le Point, Riz expressed little hope that anything has changed since 2015, saying, "If we republish the same cartoons today, we would be alone again. The attack did not make people more courageous. On the contrary, the opposite." In 2015, there was much more freedom to be satirical, to call. If there's anything that you should be allowed to do, it is make fun of things that you deem immoral or wrong or hurtful or harmful. They deem humor as a violent action. Okay? Especially humor against a certain prophet that shall not be named.
But it's totally okay. Like, and I actually have zero problem, like, as a Christian, I have zero problem from a legality standpoint with somebody that were to do something like that against Christianity. They could blaspheme Jesus as much as they want, okay? My way of going after that would be through prayer and through combating it by awareness and speaking out against it.
There are basic laws of decency that we already have in play.
Right.
But they're across the board. They're not because you criticize Christianity.
Exactly.
So, in a prior interview with French President, despite the attack, Charlie Hebdo has continued to satirize and lampoon anyone and everyone on the political scene in France, and has received backlash several times, including death threats over a cover involving Muslim scholar Tariq Ramadan in 2017. While the magazine does still take risks on its content, former Charlie Hebdo journalist said in 2017 the magazine has lost its edge and gone soft. So has English multiculturalism lost its head? And while you might think that is gross, it's a way of reaching out. It's a way of making a point. And what's interesting is that they are alone. We do not live in a land that honors the free speech anymore, which is incredibly interesting because we just came through the 60s and 70s, which lambasted Christians for being, censorious and just stick in the muds, and we need pornography and we need all these things. So yeah.
Sailor, where you going, buddy? Hi, little dude.
Hi, little dude.
Let me see, little dude.
All right, so talking about, I'm going to play this because I think this is a perfect lead into this. Douglas Murray talked to Breitbart about this quote unquote like cancel culture, where they just cancel you if you're if you are a gay person that identifies as a conservative. Well, then you're just no longer gay. Okay. And Kanye West this week held a church service in which he said, "I'm a black man, and who's telling me as a black man I can't like Trump?" And he's got thousands of people showing up. And he's like, "I've never made a decision on the color of my skin." And so people have said Kanye West is no longer black. But see, these are things that those are illogical statements. He's still black. You know what I mean?
Right.
People will realize, I don't know how long it's going to take, but that this is an unwinnable game, and that it's a deranging game, and that it's dementing our societies, and it's making us do the things we think we're trying to avoid. So in the name of anti-racism, they're making everybody think about race. Everybody.
That's so true.
In the name
I think about that all the time.
Equality between the sexes, they're going to make men more bitter about women. And they're going to make a lot of women more bitter along the way, not least because they're going to make men that they don't want. So I think that if we gather back here, we could even set the date. In a couple of decades' time, we will not be doing this. We will have got out of it. But the third thing of that is, what ought we to be doing better with our time? Now, here's the thing. A friend of mine was speaking recently at a university in America and mentioned that the class with this visiting lecturer were all asking questions afterwards about identity politics matters. Things to do with equality, diversity, equity. And this person said, why are you doing this? You should be trying to work out how we live in underwater cities. You should be working out how we live on the moon. Why are you doing this?
Very interesting. Like, you could be thinking about deeper subjects and how you're going to just try to bring everybody else down.
That's a really good point.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to live underwater, but, you know.
Well, I mean, but it's an endless thing of things that we could solve to make our lives better, to make our planet better, to make each other better. And it's a waste of time talking about all of these identity politics. Life is beyond identity politics.
And with that, we have cases like this. A British employment tribunal has ruled that a Christian doctor's biblical understanding of sexuality and lack of belief in transgenderism is incompatible with human dignity. Oh my gosh. After being fired from his job in 2018 for refusing to use the pronouns that do not correspond with the person's biological sex, disability assessor Dr. David Makareth filed a complaint against the Department of Work and Pensions for harassment and discrimination under the Equality Act. In its decision this week, the panel declared that Dr. Makareth's biblical belief that God made humans male or female was incompatible with human dignity. The tribunal ruled explicitly on 3 positions taken by Dr. Makareth that made him unable to do, in good conscience, to address a person as if they were a member of the opposite sex. The court referred to Makareth's belief in Genesis 1:27, a passage from the Bible that states, "So God made man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them." Second, the court cited the doctor's lack of belief. Do you understand that it is a belief? Mm-hmm. It is a theory.
Right.
It is a belief. There's nobody that can prove that you are literally a man in a woman's body. There's no scientific proof. You have to only by faith believe it.
Well, and that's the thing, actually. I was thinking about this yesterday because I was wearing, I don't remember who it was that sent us the shirts that said roses are red, violets are blue, the numbers of genders there is only 2. I was wearing that yesterday, and I actually try not to wear it in public, but I was because I had to go out. And so I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about my belief as a Christian. Okay, because I'm going to guess a lot of these transgender people are not Christians. And so what I was having a conversation, a make-believe conversation in my head with a group of someones, of these transgenders and so forth. And I'm like, listen, I believe that I'm a Christian. And you have to believe. There is no way that I can prove to you that I am a Christian. And I can't force you to give me special preferential treatment or whatever that goes outside of the realm of something that we have understood for the past 8,000 years. And that is that there are only 2 genders, because it's just as crazy or plausible, however you want to look at it, glass half full or half empty, to say, listen, I am a bird. Like, you don't understand. Inside, I fly.
And when
like, I should fly.
Wings, I will fly.
Right. Like, seriously, I'm a bird and I fly. I am a bird that is trapped in a human's body. I'm not supposed to be in this body. So I think that everybody should treat me. And you can take that to any lengths, as other people have already done with their age and so forth.
Who's to say that you aren't a reincarnation of somebody?
Right. Like, I am William Bradford. Okay. Yeah. Like, seriously, like, that's who I am inside. I want you to treat me as William Bradford. You could say you're royalty or someone super special. You know what I mean? You can take that. So, I'm Iron Man.
This is what the doctor says. No doctor or researcher or philosopher can demonstrate or prove that a person can change sex. Without intellectual and moral integrity, medicine cannot function, and my 30 years as a doctor are now considered irrelevant compared to the risk that someone else might be offended. Now, this is where we get into muddy waters. They're telling you that your gender is not based on how you wear your hair, if you wear makeup, if you have male parts or female parts. But they say, or a hormonal level, that does not make your gender. But if you change those things to be a different way, then suddenly you are a female because you have a chest, you have female level hormones, you have
it doesn't
long
make
hair,
any sense,
and you wear makeup and dresses.
Right.
It
but
defies logic.
But then with all of these different genders that they have now, that's why it gets so ridiculous, because then you can be like, listen, I think there's probably a gender that says, I want to wear my face like a man and dress like a woman, and I feel like a woman and I am a man. I mean, there are so many different things. It's literal insanity. And then you hear from literal people who are transgender, like, listen, I switched from being a man to being a woman. There are only two genders. I switched them. I'm like, okay, you know what? You did that. Now, medically, the doctor's going to have to treat you with whatever you've got. Okay. But what I really have an issue with more than anything, of course I have an issue with that too, but more than anything is all of this made up mumbo jumbo. There's two genders. If you want to cross dress and you want to pretend that you're the other gender, okay, fine. Like, whatever.
Well, I really like to go with the whole cross dressing thing. Like, we used to have...
it used to be so simple.
We used to call them transvestites.
Yeah.
When I was a kid. That's what he's a transvestite. He dresses like a woman.
And, like, when I was a kid, it was very simple. I'm a man that is attracted to other men. I'm a homosexual, or I'm a woman that's attracted to other women.
These are
I'm a homosexual.
Scientific things.
Okay, we can kind of understand. And as a society, I think we have done a pretty good job of being inclusive.
But I can't prove it. I can't say that you're a homosexual. Like, you're saying it, I have to believe it.
Right.
Transgenderism, unfortunately, is a belief system.
Yeah, exactly.
So, here we have Douglas Murray again.
If isn't gay, if Kanye West isn't black, if Jermaine Greer isn't a feminist, let's be honest about this. This is naked politicking. The madness of crowds is my attempt to explain, I think, take apart and explain what we should do instead of the movement that's called by different names. Sometimes it's called identity politics, sometimes it's called a very ugly term.
I'm going to actually make a case study, and maybe this is why my shirt is black to you. My shirt that I'm wearing is green. Bright green. The color, for some reason, it's picking up the color of my earrings.
Barely.
It's the color of my earrings.
I think I know what it is. We could probably show them if you turn that light out, because that's the only thing that I did differently here. Yeah. No. Okay, that didn't do it.
No, it's not, we're not green. We're just not green. But,
let's see, did that do it? Let me see. Nope.
I could tell you guys till I was blue in the face that my shirt is green, but it sure does look like it's a black shirt, doesn't it? And you're going to tell me it's a black shirt. And I'm going to tell you I'm wearing a green shirt. But to you, it looks black.
I'm just messing. And now you look like Donald Trump.
That's so funny.
Intersectionalism. And it's basically the form of thinking, politicking that bases itself around rights issues, almost exclusively around rights issues. And if that sounds sort of abstract, it's not. It's the stuff of everyday's politics in some ways. Issues to do with being gay, issues to do with women, particularly relations between the sexes, issues to do with race, and increasingly issues to do with trans. Some of these, particularly the last one, seemed rather obscure even a few years ago. And they've got right to the heart of the cultural and political wars of our time. And my view is that we are really bad about thinking about these issues. And we're really bad about talking about them. Because whole careers and indeed lives get destroyed by saying the wrong thing, thinking the wrong thing. And often thinking something or saying something that absolutely everybody thought or said until yesterday. I should probably say, none of this suggests that there hasn't been discrimination in the past, and that there may not be some discrimination in parts of our society today. I don't deny any of that. Take this as an example. You know, when Kanye West comes out in support of Donald Trump, whatever you think of either Donald Trump or Kanye West, when he comes out in support of Donald Trump, he is denounced in one of the main American magazines by a very prominent black writer in America as no longer being black. This happens repeatedly. Peter Thiel, very prominent gay billionaire, founder of PayPal, comes out for the Republican nominee in America in 2016 and is denounced in the main gay magazine in America as no longer gay. They say he may sleep with men, but in no other way is he gay. They actually say this with a straight face. They expel him from the Church of Gay. Just like some black activists in America tried to expel Kanye West from being black. Another example, Germaine Greer, the most prominent, rightly celebrated feminist of the late 20th century, trips on the trans wire. She says, I'm not willing to say that somebody who was born a man, who transitions in various ways, is a woman. I'm not willing to say it. For that, Germaine Greer is denounced as no longer being a feminist. And you know, Peter Thiel isn't gay, if Kanye West isn't black, if Germaine Greer isn't a feminist, let's be honest about this. This is naked politicking. You can't, for instance, pretend that gay is, in fact, slightly better than being straight, which is one of the things our culture has started to arrive at. If you support absolutely equal rights for women, as most of us do, you can't then imply that women are actually slightly better than men, as well as being equal. In the last 10 years in particular, people, in my experience, in Britain, and I travel all the time, and not just in Britain, but in America and elsewhere, they find themselves in this position of describing themselves to you before you know anything else about them. Speaking as a woman, speaking as a gay man, speaking as a gay woman, speaking as a black woman, speaking as a... And you see, we used to be aspiring to something else. The thing we used to be aspiring to was what Dr. Martin Luther King described as judging people by the content of their character. So if you judge people by the content of their character, it doesn't matter what color they are. It doesn't matter who they sleep with or who they love or who they marry. It doesn't matter which sex or gender they are. It matters only what kind of a person they are. What kind of a person they are to the people around them, to their loved ones, and to strangers. But identity politicking, putting our society into atomized groups, which you can then weaponize against each other, does exactly the opposite of that. It says the most important thing are your characteristics. Mm-hmm. And, you see, and if that's the case, then we are all prisoners of how we were born.
Wow. Very well said. So I'm going to show you guys the color of Leah's shirt.
This is so funny. Oh my gosh! so funny.
Yeah, so here's Leah's shirt right now, black. And that's what she looks like. I have no idea what's going on with the coloring there. But yeah, isn't that a very pretty green that she's wearing? I don't know. I have no idea what's going on here. I'm going to remove my chair from this situation here.
All right, so we want to make sure that we kind of hit around all of Europe. We kind of leave some people out. So this week there was a mass protest of Dutch farmers against the green fascism. Check this out, you guys. Thousands of Dutch farmers headed in mass to the Netherlands capital.
Speaking of green, they're all like driving green John Deere tractors
to protest against environmental policies being inflicted on them by their coalition government. Hundreds have converged in the capital by tractor, causing total tailbacks. This is what happened this week. In excess of 620 miles, bringing the city to a standstill. The demonstration has been prompted by a suggestion from the coalition party D66 that Dutch livestock farming should be slashed to meet commitments on reducing nitrogen emissions. Farming organizations say their members are sick of being described by politicians, the media, and activists as pollutants and animal abusers. And I know that these Norwegian countries and as well in other places in Europe really take animal welfare a lot more seriously there than we do here in America. So to say that, I mean, this was huge to drive all these tractors there. Let's see, where are we at? The protests, the equivalent of the France's Gilets Jaunes, have widespread support amongst the Dutch people. Got a lot of pickup in those.
They really go, don't they? Oh my gosh! They're doing like 25 miles an hour.
Seems faster.
That's great. So Britt tells me that the tractors are black, not green. If they're picking up black, they're not. Most of them are green John Deere tractors.
And red.
Well, red's picking up because I'm wearing red and it picks up just fine. This is the color of my shirt.
Okay, so those are some nighttime videos. I'm going to show you guys some of these. Let's see. Farmers blocked the A28 highway with their tractors between Hugeveen and Meppel on October 1st, 2019, during a national protest of farmers. The farmers joined a national demonstration in The Hague to draw attention to their difficulties to comply with the climate and environmental policy. There's a whole bunch of colors there. Now I want to, while I'm here, because I shared a bunch this week, and in my Twitter feed, I think it was kind of a little bit too far back for me to get it. So let me just get some Dutch farmer video here, because they drove on beaches. They were everywhere.
Brabaz says, Michelle, some European tractors can do up to 70 miles per hour.
What?
That's intense.
So you know what? They can really get around. They're not getting stuck. No. You know what I mean? Going everywhere, going anywhere. Have tractor wheel travel. That's the best way to travel. I mean, you could over land, over sand, dirt, mud. You want to see the world, get yourself a good tractor.
Yeah, it'll cost you an easy $100,000.
Oh, they're not cheap. I had a video of them driving in the... We love farmers, no food. There was one where they were driving on the beach. Here's the one I wanted to show you guys.
How much vanilla? A teaspoon or a tablespoon?
Probably a teaspoon. Open wide on the beach. So good for them. Good for them, for the Dutch farmers to stand up to the global fascism, the global climate fascism. Pretty excited that they're standing up.
It is.
We need to see some more, and so to see the Netherlands farmers, yeah, that's pretty crazy. So there you have the.
How do you, get something like that together?
Here's the thing: they wanted them to have their livestock in half.
Wow.
In half. Farming organizations say that their members are tired of being characterized as criminals and environmental criminals. Farmers are sick of being painted as the problem that needs a solution. Suddenly, everyone is worried. We're getting blamed and badly represented in the media. Everyone is blaming us for climate change, but planes are worse than farmers, and no one is talking about them. This is a 17-year-old dairy farmer.
Thank you.
Similarly to the public support enjoyed by the French Yellow Vests, these protesters had a lot of support in their country, and you know what we're going to take a second and do? We're going to
have a commercial break.
No, we're just going to go, and we're just going to do a YouTube on Dutch farming. Let's see if we get some, This is what they're protesting, folks. I know that, here's the thing. I know the level that the EU even makes sure that animals are treated. They're not treated like they are here in America. Like, they're better.
Yeah.
They're treated better there. And this is what they want to have. The livestock. These are not CAFOs. You guys don't really have those. I mean, you have some chicken factories. But this is it's just a farm, and it's beautiful, and it's what life should be. And to say that this is harming the environment, when we talk about it all the time, this is what actually is healing to the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the most healthy environment you will ever have.
Right.
Right? This is the healthiest environment that you will ever have on these Dutch farms. So I know that the people in the Netherlands and Holland they care about their animals, and they do. Okay, so we have that. So go Dutch farmers.
Hashtag go Dutch farmers.
We're gonna go to Sweden now.
You're going to go to Sweden?
I'm not happy with the Swedes. We're never really happy with the Swedes. The migrant who raped and impregnated 11-year-old boy is a lifetime expulsion. A migrant in his 20s has been sentenced to 3 years in prison for raping 11-year-old. And
Just
getting
3
her
years?
pregnant. Getting her pregnant 2 times.
What?
But will be allowed to return to good old Sweden in about 10 years. The migrant, whose original nationality is not clear, began his sexual relationship with a young girl in the summer of 2018. And he molested her for a long time.
Oh my gosh.
It took a full year before the migrant was arrested in July of 2019.
Hang
And
on,
she
how
was
did he get her pregnant twice?
It's unknown whether either the pregnancies were taken to term.
No parent steps in at that point?
He claimed that he thought she was above the Swedish age of consent, which is 15, which is still too low.
There's a big difference between 11 and 15.
Yeah, on top of the 3-year sentence, the migrant will also be forced to pay around 22,000 euros to the victim in compensation. However, he will be able to get around a lifetime ban from the country, with a ban of just 10 years being ordered by the court.
You don't get to come back. You got to go. That's it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's not the good. Not the good at all. Not happy there. Swedish police warn a brutal Nigerian mafia gang foothold into Stockholm. That's kind of like an oxymoron when we put things together like that. Swedish Nigerian gang. Stockholm police have warned of the growing influence of the Black Axe, a Nigerian criminal gang connected to a drug trafficking and prostitution involving what else other than illegal migrants. The Black Axe is said to be an international group which operates in several southern European countries. 15 members of the group were arrested this week in Gothenburg in connection with the drug trafficking cases. Earlier this week, Gothenburg police arrested 15 drug smugglers connected to an international cocaine and heroin smuggling, finding 115 million Swedish kronors, the equivalent of about $11.5 million. Swedish customs say they seized approximately 300 pounds of narcotics in total, including 110 pounds of heroin.
Wow.
Prosecutor Anna Svensson noted that the network was based in the Netherlands and said some of the defendants have links to a Black Axe, but not all.
Some of them.
Lennart Carlson, intervention manager at the Klara area in Stockholm, said the police have noted an increased presence of the Nigerian mafia in recent years in Sweden. In Sweden, the Nigerian mafia. I would go, if I wanted to get away from the Nigerian mafia, I would go to Sweden. The really heavy establishment has been over the last 5 years. I wonder what has happened in the last 5 years. The mosque we hears from us. They often meet people who have been told to come here and get contacts to get a job. But then the Black Axe members hang outside and attract them. This organization works with both prostitution and drug trafficking. Carlson labeled the Nigerian mafia one of the world's most effective crime syndicates. Way to go, Nigeria. So unfortunately for us, they probably have a pretty bright future.
Oh my gosh.
They just said that. Like, seriously. The Swedish police say they probably have a pretty bright future. The Nigerian mafia is also known to use juju, a Nigerian equivalent of voodoo. to force migrants to become drug traffickers or prostitutes. This technique has been seen elsewhere in Europe, such as Spain and Italy, where Nigerian mafia also operates. Earlier this year, Italian police warned of the potential Islamic radicalization among the Nigerian mafia, saying the influence of terror groups like Boko Haram was spreading among the mafia members. So, yay for our defeatants. You're in the news for the great things.
It's so simple to create laws that
now outlaw this,
squash this sort of thing.
It really is. Where's the government when you really need it? You know what? We're just going to put a crackdown on the Swedish mafia, on the Swedish Nigerian mafia, and you're all just gone.
Yeah,
you're all just gone.
That's what Trump would do.
Yeah. Around 90% of 2015 migrants with residency status are unemployed. So that's not good. Just under 90%. So about only 10% are working. Of the asylum seekers who came to Sweden at the height of the migrant crisis and have gained permanent residency do not work. Of the 40,000, only 4,000 of them support themselves independently through working. A further 9,000 received money to study in Sweden, while another 18,000 are on municipal welfare programs. 8 of the 10 municipalities who took in the most migrants per population also have unemployment rates far above the national average.
In Sweden?
Probably to speak Swedish. Sweden is one of the most high-tech countries in the world, where we streamline simpler jobs. Therefore, the knowledge gap is too large for many of the refugee migrants, you racist. Sweden is a high-cost country. It is expensive to live here. If you then have a group that does not meet their living expenses through the work that they do, they must still go to the society to help with their livelihood. The figures come only days after Why does it cost so much to live in Sweden?
That's a good question.
No, you do know. It's because they're a socialist country.
Okay, no. I'm sorry. What I mean is, I'm thinking of equivalating. When you have all of these people, we're down in Sweden, when you have all of these people that are living on welfare, you would think that costs would go down. I think of medical welfare programs. Medical costs go down with medical welfare programs. So you would think that with all of these people living on welfare with no money of their own, literally coming from, they're making it, they have to be printing it. They have to be insolvent by now, Sweden.
They do. They really do. So before we're going to go to our 2 last stories. We're going to go to the UK. Obviously, we're going to finish up our day with the UK. I just want to make sure. Greece is struggling to cope with migrant arrivals. Italy's got more migrant arrivals. A British ice cream seller who joined Islamic State in Syria is begging to come home. I'm just going to leave that with you and say no. But I do want to come over here to Finland. At least one.
We never go to Finland.
I know, it's not happy. At least one person has died and another 10 have been injured in Kuopio, eastern Finland, after a suspect brought a sword to a local college and began attacking people.
Oh my God.
So this is not just your average gunfight. This is not a gang thing. He brought a sword. Local police say that they were called to the scene at around 12:29 in the afternoon and were able to subdue the suspect after discharging their firearms less than 10 minutes later. Among the injured are a police officer and the suspect himself, who is said to be a native-born Finnish citizen, and it's also said to have possessed a firearm at the time of the attack. So far, no motive has been explained in regards to the attack, but the BBC has claimed that the first person to be attacked by the subject was a teacher at the college. The broadcaster added that several students threw chairs at the suspect as he pursued the teacher.
So hang on, pause right there, because this is really fascinating. He has a firearm, and he chooses a sword. So doesn't that actually go against the whole narrative of guns make you go and commit violent crimes? Because he actually had the option to choose the gun and chose the sword instead.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah, and the attack comes just over 2 years since another mass stabbing attack in the city of Turku that saw a failed asylum seeker from Morocco go on a spree there. So I don't know. We don't know, but I wanted to kind of throw that out there. Oh, that's pretty crazy. So
there they are. Oh my gosh, that's a disgusting sight.
We are going to go to Boris Johnson, but I want to go to this. This is the story that really, I think, as far as we're still on the, where's my little article on, okay. I know you're here somewhere. We're going to close you out. Okay, here we go. We need, it's time. it's time to talk about the people who, y'all have a hysteria. Y'all have a hysteria in we cover the transgenderism hysteria. Y'all have, and it's a hysteria. You have an outbreak. You have something going on. You've got to contain it. You have an issue where, like, a lot of kids want love and attention in the UK. And I'm going to the UK because you're the only place in the entire world that has, like, major populations of entire schools becoming transgender. I'm going to guess that some of them are just trying to fit in and trying to be special.
It's not all coming, like, from genetics and it's just natural.
And that I told we had a little fire pit last night. I was talking about the fact that just now, see, this wasn't a thing 10 years ago. The number of people becoming transgender and as a whole, I think, is like up 3,500%. Girls turning into boys is up 5,000%. I can't believe that nature has it wrong so many times, especially in the UK.
Do you think it's in the water?
No, it may be a little bit, but no, I really don't think they believe it, because there are hundreds who are looking in their 20s right now, who are wanting to detransition.
And they were of the first
of this large, 10 years ago, you didn't really see it. There was a few, but as it became more popular, everybody wanted the new pair of shoes. Everybody wanted the Nike Air Jordans. Then everybody wanted the surgeries and wanted to change their gender.
Right.
And a lot of these kids are asking, why didn't you deal with my psychological problems as a 13, 14, and 15-year-old on a different level? Rather than, a lot of these doctors are seeing hundreds and thousands of patients, and they just take their word for it. They start giving kids they start helping children as young as 2 and 3.
It's unbelievable.
Transition. And I talk about it all the time because Michelle was a tomboy. There's a lot of tomboys. There's thousands of tomboys in this world because you haven't gone through puberty yet. You don't actually know what it means. And I'm not going to say that there should, I'm not going to say that nobody should ever have a surgery or ever whatever to become transgender. But what I will say is that's your choice. I feel like it might be a little bit medical malpractice, even as on a 20-year-old or young 20s, but under the age of 18, or until you're fully developed as in one gender, you don't know that you don't want to be that gender.
So I want to speak to this because I guess I never really thought that I could have a leg to stand on, but realizing that a lot of these kids that are transitioning were in the exact same boat that I was as boy crazy. So when Leah says that I was a tomboy, my older brother loved football. And so I started wearing Dallas Cowboys stuff because he was a fan of the Cowboys, and I just wanted to be like him because I loved him so much. And then within my little society, whether it was the classroom or my neighborhood kids or whatever, my personality kind of morphed into being, because I was only slightly but still bigger than some of the other girls. They were very, very small, and so I appeared bigger, but I was actually just kind of like a normal young lady. And so there was something empowering within me to take on that tomboy persona. It made me special, but it also made kids look up to me, like somehow, because we do look up to men, right? And so it kind of gave me, I was a younger sibling, and so I always felt kind of lesser than. And so amongst my peers now, I'm looked up to and I'm treated. And so it was almost like me looking to you, like, I want to be what Leah is. I would like to be an older sibling. So it was almost a way for me to be like an older sibling to these other kids, and to have the boys respect me and the girls respect me. And I was able to kind of protect and keep things at bay. But I liked boys a lot. I mean, that was one of my chiefest things of getting in trouble for when I was 11 and 12 and 13 or whatever, is because I was so boy crazy. But it had nothing to do with who I was attracted to. And it was really just sociological. I mean, it was just because of my environment.
I'm trying to tell you that it's a perfectly normal thing for 11 and 12-year-old girls to become a tomboy, to want to be like the boys, to want to be rough.
But had I been in another scenario with a different, I may not have developed that way.
But
it's
no,
all
but
about
had
your external environment.
But what I'm saying is, had you been in this environment, your teachers and everybody would have pulled you aside and said, you're transgender.
Well, what I'm playing to is your idea, and you're 100% right here, is that it's peer pressure. It's society. We all are molded and created by our surroundings and who we're around.
But this article, this headline here is that these people who want to detransition are now suddenly being called traitors. Why would you be a traitor? Aren't you just allowed to be whoever you think that you are?
I know.
Hundreds of people who believe they were transgender. We're talking about people now in their early 20s who want to detransition because they were, I believe, medical malpractice, and I think they should be able to sue, want to turn to their biological birth gender. 28-year-old Charlie Evans, who lived as a male for almost 10 years after transitioning in her teens, told Sky News that she has been contacted by hundreds of trans people who, like her, came to regret their decision. I'm in communication with 19 and 20-year-olds who have had full gender reassignment surgery, fully, who wish that they hadn't.
Wow.
And their dysphoria has not been relieved, and they don't feel better for it. They don't know what other options they have now.
Because there's no sympathy. All the sympathy is for the transitioning, but if you want to detransition...
now what do? We took all of your body parts away. Miss Evans suggested that trans people who contacted her with regrets tended to be around in their mid-20s. They're mostly female and mostly same-sex attracted and often autistic as well. This follows the publication of Boston University research, which showed that some 78% of people identifying as trans, non-binary, or genderqueer meet the criteria for one or more mental disorders. Most concerning for Miss Evans, however, is the fact that there appears to be no support network for people to go to wish to detransition. With one biological woman who approached her saying that she felt shunned by the LGBT community for being a traitor when it became known that she wished to return to her birth sex.
Wow.
To that end, Miss Evans founded the Detransition Advocacy Network, which will hold its first meeting in the northern city of Manchester at the end of October. Sky News' rare examination of transgender people who come to regret transitioning follows an employment tribunal ruling that the government's Department for Work and Pensions was within its right to fire this Christian doctor that we talked about. He says that he could never call a 6-foot-tall bearded man madam. This is absolutely insane. So this is the Sky News article. Hundreds of young people seeking help to return to original sex. It's sad. Oh. We're gonna get we're gonna get it back on here. I heard it just go off. But she says she felt like she had to help people, and I'm really proud of her for doing this. And a lot of people are kind of scared to speak out because it's kind of embarrassing too.
David, and she hugged me and said, I'm a detransitioned woman as well. I've just stopped taking testosterone. And after that, I felt like I had to do something. I'm hearing from hundreds of people, and I think some of the common characteristics are they tend to be around their mid-20s. They're mostly female and mostly same-sex attracted. Most are lesbians.
Yeah, so it's incredibly, and some of these people I read about in the article, one person said, I went to the therapist because I wanted to transition, but I also had an eating disorder, but the doctor did not do anything to address the eating disorder, or maybe even say, hey, maybe this might be connected at all.
Wow.
Ruby is 21, but first began identifying as 13 after taking testosterone.
As male at 13.
As male as 13. After taking testosterone, her voice got a lot deeper, and she grew facial hair and her body changed. She had been planning to have surgery to have her chest removed this summer. However, in May, Ruby voiced the growing doubts she had been harboring and made the decision to come off the testosterone and detransition to female. So this is a back picture of her. I don't think I didn't think that any change was going to be enough in the end, and I thought it was better to work on changing how I felt about myself than changing my body. I've seen similarities in the way I experience gender dysphoria and the way I experience other body image issues.
Wow.
So she explains that this is the one who had the eating disorder. And for everyone who has gender dysphoria, whether they are trans or not, I want there to be more options for us because I think there is a system of saying, okay, here's your hormones, here's your surgery, off you go. And I don't think that's helpful for anyone, for doctors to not sit down and really try to identify. You know, the NHS is actually seeing patients as young as 3 and 4. It's just skyrocketing.
It's ridiculous.
So I wanted to point that out.
And I'm reminded of Mario Lopez when he was on Candace Owens, and he was kind of saying that it really is awful to try to say that a child can say what gender they are. Okay, right. Because children don't even, I mean, you can't count on kids for anything. That's why they're children. Their brains have not developed. And it's child abuse. Right. It's allowing a parent, I mean, in all honesty, sometimes I think that these kids should be taken away from their parents. When these parents are the ones that are really pushing this. Like, I think the parents want attention.
Exactly. Oh, a lot of it in a lot of cases.
You know, like the parents just want the attention, and it's child abuse, and you should have your kid taken away if you're going to.
Yeah, you should be able to,
you know.
I'm sure people have a lot of things to say if you want to read some comments. While I bring up Extinction Rebellion's plan to spray 1,800 liters of fake blood on the Treasury in protest of
and Dora
change.
says, I thought I was a plane when I was a kid, but thankfully my parents didn't feed me motor oil to validate my identity.
Thank you, parents. So Extinction Rebellion, climate change people, tried to spray fake blood on the Treasury office, but it didn't go so well.
Okay. I don't think they were quite prepared for how powerful that hose was going to be. The people trying to pick it back up, it's killing me. Like, they literally can't hold on to it.
So yeah, that didn't go too well.
Okay, so I'm going to guess that these are not trained firefighters. Because I'm also going to guess that, you know, just as somebody that has operated a regular garden hose, there's a nozzle there. And you can turn it up or dial it back. And I think they just turned it up as high as they possibly could. And
I have another.
That was really enjoyable.
As you can see, this is
angle.
The UK Treasury has blood on their hands.
He's still trying to play it cool, though.
It's okay.
Peter says, 2 weeks to hold the hose. Should have eaten some red meat, these vegans.
That's good.
Fire hose health and safety regulations, Nom Nom says. Jack Russell, whenever I start using a new tool, the first thing I learn is where the off button is.
So, good morning, everyone. This is Extinction Rebellion London. We are here at the UK Treasury.
Where'd they get a fire truck from?
I was wondering the same thing. Redneck says you got to have strength for that. I know. I used to be a fireman.
And the rebels of Extinction Rebellion
are not doing too well.
As well as Christian Climate Action are doing a protest against.
Well, it didn't work so well, did it? The hose on the fire engine they had commandeered for the occasion ruptured. It sprayed everywhere. Members of the group who took time out of their busy day to vandalize the Treasury building included a retired university lecturer who specializes in teaching social work, is a musician and an ex-Buddhist teacher. 2 have reportedly been arrested, but questions will surely need to be asked on how these eco-terrorists managed to get a fire engine so close to a government building. And how then they managed to spray or attempted to spray the building for at least 40 seconds before anyone came to stop them.
So hang on. Britt Boz says, Michelle, noticed Extinction Rebellion used a massive old diesel-powered fire engine truck that does get 8 miles per gallon to do this stunt.
Look at the...
It's all worth it. You're allowed to damage the planet. It's collateral damage in order to save the planet, apparently.
Exactly. It's all par for the course. All right. So we're going to go to Nige.
Okay.
Boris had a speech this week, and we have to do our Brexit update. Brexit betrayal inbound. Boris government signals it will soften Brexit deal in negotiations. And actually, we're going to play that one second.
Okay.
Because I think you're going to be interested in what Nige does here or did here.
That was hilarious. You can't play the whole thing though.
Boris, this is for
it's exactly what we do.
So,
it's hilarious.
So what is absolutely hilarious? You're going to see Nigel here, and then he's going to kind of comment later afterwards. As I have time
and throughout.
He's going to comment throughout, and then afterwards he's going to. I have another video for you because he laughed. He's laughing his head off because Boris Johnson is literally pulling a China on him and stealing their intellectual property. He's
copying the Brexit Party's campaign, their slogans, their ideas, the big, pumping up of the energy, the same words.
They don't care. The people, they're not behind it as much.
The image there, Nicky Morgan there, and he's now going along, shaking the hands of his cabinet, which may seem sort of slightly bizarre.
This is exactly what we do. They literally copy everything we do. It's comical.
Your head's in
I
front of
don't think they've got a single idea of their own.
I should begin by paying tribute to my predecessor, Theresa.
She did a great job, Theresa May. Wonderful job. Absolutely marvellous. Absolutely marvellous. Jolly well done, everybody. Marvellous. You couldn't invent it, could you? She was useless.
And yes, we will continue with your work.
What?
Tackling...
He's going to continue with Theresa May's work. Well, that's it. It is a sellout.
And I say to Ruth Davidson as well, thank you, Ruth, for everything you did and have done.
Well done, Ruth. Remainer Ruth. Done a great job. It's clear that Boris Johnson is going to reheat her dreadful deal.
Let's get Brexit done. We can, we must, and we will, even though things have not been made easier by the...
Come what may. Come what Mrs. May. Cleared up the debt is just a complete lie. They cut the deficit. The debt is just massive. Debt's 1.8 trillion. It's more like a conversation than a speech, isn't it?
We will allow the UK, whole and entire, to withdraw from the EU with control over our own trade policy from the start.
Control over our own trade policy from the start. How does that work? No one mentions the transition period, do they? It's just not true, is it? It's not true, is it? Because October the 1st, we won't be negotiating trade deals.
He meant November the 1st.
The alternative is no deal. And that is not an outcome we want. It is not an outcome we seek at all. But let me tell you, my friends, it is an outcome for which we are ready.
Has that always been their
That's
color?
just the biggest hero, isn't it?
Are we ready for it?
Colors too.
Yes.
No, are we ready? You couldn't invent this.
Let's get Brexit done by October.
You couldn't invent.
Question. I don't know what color. You guys are seeing the blue behind me. Is that a traditional conservative color, the same blue that Nige is using?
Nigel's blue seems like it's a little bit more turquoisey than that one. But I don't know. Could be.
On the priorities of
Christ. I should have lent him a pair of shoes, shouldn't I, as well?
And I think of the M60, the A66, the A... What are the other ones, Sad? You recited them yesterday. The A358, the A303. They're huge. The Lincoln roundabout. We're
detail. He doesn't do detail, does he?
And that we are now accelerating the program for gigabit broadband so fast. And
wow.
It's going to be...
Where did that idea come from? I can't think.
And we exported Nigel Farage briefly to America, though he seems to have come back. Across the world...
It's not a new one. It's not a new one, is it? I think Theresa May used that line. She did. Theresa May used that line. Green, green, green. Green. We're going green.
That is the vision for the country.
Brexit's going to get done. We're going to go green. And he keeps emphasising one nation, which is quite interesting. The immigration comment was a tick in a box. I think. Well, he's better than she was. No, he's better than she was. I wouldn't have even listened to all of those. I'd have walked out.
Moderate, one nation, but...
One nation, one nation, one nation, one nation. Well, let's get Brexit done was the big message, obviously, although he didn't spend a huge amount of time talking about the EU. He talked about everything else.
Okay, so Electric Eye says blue, blue, my Tories blue, and Britt Baza says yes, it's a traditional color for Tories, which is probably why the Brexit Party chose to stay in that same vein with their color, because it's familiar, you know, for people. So we're going to now go to another video of Nigel that I have up on mine here. There we go.
He's got, it says the second show. It says week number 2. Nigel Farage talk of the week number 2. So he's got his week number 1 and week number 2.
Well, another week that may have left you utterly bemused, but less bemused, I suspect, than the so-called Remain Alliance. Yeah, of course I'm talking about the Labour Party, I'm talking about the Liberal Democrats, I'm talking about the SNP, I'm talking about Plaid, I'm talking about the One Green, oh, and of course Anna Soubry. Don't forget Anna Soubry, she's leading a party who are hovering at around about 0% in the polls and yet seems to dominate the BBC almost every day. Now the idea was they would gang together, bring forward a motion of confidence, get rid of Boris Johnson, and given that he now has a minus 43 deficit in the Commons, you wouldn't have thought that was too bad, and they would take control, seize control of the government. They've been in meetings all week, in fact at times in London this week. It's been eerily quiet, but they've got nowhere. Do you know why? They can't agree on who the leader should be. Now, old Grandpa Corbyn is of course the leader of the opposition, but the old Marxist is not going to get the support of those 21 Conservatives who were kicked out. The Liberal Democrats do not want Corbyn to be in number 10, even for a temporary period, because of course they're in direct competition with Labour for the votes, and no compromise candidate has been found. Margaret Beckett has been suggested. I've absolutely no idea why. And equally Ken Clarke, who's just touching 80, thinks that he perhaps is the man for the job. So thus far, to my surprise, they haven't moved a motion of confidence, and they're running out of time because next Tuesday Parliament is going to be prorogued. Yes, prorogued. Gosh, will the Supreme Court have to sit again? No, actually, this is normal before a Queen's speech. It's just that the previous attempt at doing this was hopelessly mishandled by the government, giving, I think, way too many arguments to the Remain side. And in fact, they were the good guys. They were in charge of democracy and freedom and liberty and parliamentary sovereignty. So Parliament's prorogued on Tuesday. And then when it comes back, on Monday the 14th, there's going to be a Queen's speech, followed by a couple of days of debate, and then, of course, Boris heads off to the European Summit, the all-important European Summit in Brussels on the 17th of October. So they're running, in a sense, they're running out of time to remove Boris as Prime Minister. Now, Boris himself, of course, his first speech to the Conservative conference as Prime Minister. And, oh, I had to laugh. I had to laugh. From the beginning, there he was at the back of the hall as the lights went down and the music began to play, and it was for every bit of it a carbon copy of everything we in the Brexit Party do, particularly the big vision rally that we put on with 5,500 people back in June in Birmingham. The difference was they went for the big rah-rah, the big razzmatazz, and as Boris came through the crowd to this music playing and this big scene, there was a slight difference between the Conservative Party and the Brexit Party. When I'm doing that, I'm walking through the crowd, they say, "Go on, Nige, go on, son!" Or there are women rushing out of the audience trying to grab me. With Boris, they stood there politely saying, "Hello, Mr. Johnson, frightfully pleased to meet you." And it just did not work as a big rah-rah. Boris got on stage, and at one point, I couldn't believe it, at one point he even said, "We are ready." I mean, they literally have copied everything we've talked about in terms of style, design, and also in terms of policy. I mean, they're talking now about broadband, they're talking about improved infrastructure links in the north of England. A couple of weeks ago, we said we thought inheritance tax should go, because actually in London and the South East it now affects ordinary families, not the rich. And we joked when we announced it, I wonder how long it'll be before the Tories copy that one, and it took 2 weeks. So I think we're doing quite well in writing the government's manifesto. The Boris speech, well look, he'd written it himself. It was delivered without autocue but from notes on a desk. I mean, he's miles better than Theresa May. I mean, you may say that's not difficult. He's miles better than Theresa May. And there was one I thought quite funny moment in it when he talked about, you know, if Parliament was the jungle, they'd all be voted out, but at least we'd have the joy of seeing Speaker John Bercow eating a kangaroo's testicle. That was funny. It went down quite well. Other jokes were not as funny as Boris normally can be. He wasn't as upbeat as he often is, but then I guess he is Prime Minister. Wasn't much detail, lots of talk about being a one-nation Tory, lots of talk about going green in all sorts of different ways, but he did say we're going to get Brexit done. That was the theme of their conference, and he did say that we are leaving come what may on the 31st of October. Now strangely, you would have expected his speech to the Conservative conference to be the news story of the day, indeed perhaps in some ways the news story of the week, but no. That afternoon his big offer, his letter to Jean-Claude Juncker, his attached new compromise proposals were published. Now what does this amount to? Well, on the one hand, with Northern Ireland, the backstop is replaced by a slightly complex two-border solution, with Northern Ireland staying part of the customs union rules on a renewable 4-year basis to be decided by the Stormont Assembly. It is potentially the annexation of a part of the United Kingdom. It puts a border down the Irish Sea, and I simply couldn't believe that Arlene Foster of the DUP was prepared to accept it. In fact, I could hear the founder of the DUP, Dr. Ian Paisley, bellowing down from the heavens that this was a surrender. But it was accompanied by a new plan for Northern Ireland, which means the government will pump in vast amounts of taxpayers' money, which I guess acted as an incentive.
Okay.
Like a bribe.
But the exciting thing about what Boris said, the aspirational thing about what Boris said, is that the United Kingdom would leave the customs union, all of the United Kingdom would leave the customs union at the end of the transition period, and that we would no longer be aligned, Northern Ireland accepted, no longer aligned with EU rules. Now this is getting a bit nearer to what Brexiteers actually want, and I think is a positive thing, a positive statement. It means that the political declaration will have to change, because Article 23 of it says very clearly that any new trade deal will be based on existing customs rules. Aspiration good, delivery, look, the EU are never going to accept this in a month of Sundays, so I don't think it's coming back to Parliament. And Boris now faces a choice. Either, and he said it again today in the House of Commons, either he takes us out with no deal, or a clean break Brexit, depending on your choice of menu. Either he does that on the 31st of October and he thinks there is a loophole in the Benn Act that allows us to do it, or he accepts an extension. All I would say is this, Boris, if you now really want a genuine free trade agreement as opposed to the close and special partnership that Mrs. May was aiming at, why on earth not just ditch any thoughts of the withdrawal agreement, any thoughts of that attached political declaration, and get ready to fight a general election in some time to come, saying, look, we'll give the EU a few months to agree a trade deal, or we are leaving on WTO rules. Don't, Boris, kick the can down the road. Any thought that maybe we'll get out at the end of a transition period means that you are actually putting faith, good faith, with the European Union. It's like putting your head into a crocodile's mouth and hoping that he will behave. Make your mind up, Boris. Is it a clean break Brexit, or do we kick the can down the road? Do we extend yet again? If we do extend, there'll be an extension rebellion. I'll make sure of it.
I'll make sure of it.
All
I'm
right,
glad
so
you watched to the end there because I like that line. I'll make sure of it.
I'm going to end with this. Thank you, Britt Baza, for sending me this. And please feel free to post more information on this parliamentary meeting from October 30th, 1990. And in it, you basically see why there is a Brexit happening right now. Because even back in 1990, you had parliamentarians and, of course, Margaret Thatcher, who were Britain first, basically, and wondering at what point, if they're just giving over a little bit more of themselves and a little bit more of themselves, at what point do you lost democratic rule at all?
Yeah.
If everything that happens in the UK is decided somewhere else, then the people don't have a say. There's no democracy. So,
discussing is not a matter of economic management, but the whole future of the relations between this country and Europe. And that the issue is not vesting.
Okay, what's going on? Something else is playing in the background. No. Wait, let me try this again.
Expressed in 19th century patriotic language or
Say music to it.
What is going on?
Is there another?
No, because it's just playing when I play this. I don't remember playing any music when I played this.
Play it and don't make it big.
Are the British people, when they vote in a general election,
just leave it that
to
size,
be able to change the policies of the government that has previously been there? And it is already a fact, as the House knows full well, that whatever government is in power, our agricultural policy is now controlled from Brussels, our trade policy is controlled from Brussels, our industrial policy is controlled from Brussels, and if we go into the EMU, our financial policy will become... It is a democratic and not a nationalistic argument. But may I also say this to the Prime Minister, having been a member of the government that took us in to the EC without consulting the British people, having been a Prime Minister of a government that agreed to the Single European Act without consulting the British people, having now agreed to the ERM without consulting the British people, well, we do not really find it hard to believe that she is really intent on preserving democracy rather than gaining some political advantage from waiving some national argument in the eve of a general election. That is why we do not trust her own judgment on the matter.
Mr. Speaker, I think I would put it just a little bit differently from the right honourable gentleman, although I recognise some of the force of some of the points that he is making. I think when the proposals for, the Delors proposals for EMU came out, the Economic and Monetary Union, it was said immediately by my right honourable friend, the then Chancellor of the Exchequer, that this was not really about monetary policy at all. It was really about a backdoor to a federal Europe. A federal Europe taking many, many democratic powers away from democratically elected bodies to non-elected ones. I believe fervently that that is true, which is why I will have nothing to do with their definition of economic and monetary union. We will continue the cooperation which we have come to establish as nation states. But when when the act was passed, which enabled us to go into Europe, was passed on second reading by 8 votes. But it was made very clear at that time that we were not going to surrender our national identity. It was a matter of cooperation. And on the face of that, many people went in. But that, I'm afraid, would be quite different if we went for a single currency, a central bank, and their definition of EMU.
Churchill, will my right honourable friend tell the House how far she believes that Germany, when the moment comes, will be prepared to see the transfer of its monetary policy from the Bundesbank to a European central bank on which it will have one voice out of 12?
Mr. Speaker, I think it's wrong to think that each of the 12 have similar votes or influence on these matters. I think that there are some in Germany who are backing this scheme, only some, but some, because they know that the dominant voice on any central bank would be the German one, the predominant voice. And of course, if we did not retain our national identities in Europe, the dominant people in Europe would be German. And the way in which to balance out, as we have traditionally done throughout history, to balance out the different views in Europe is by retaining our national identity.
So the way to... Okay, I get it. Okay. Lord have mercy on my soul.
Commercial.
I think it must have been. So, I'm sorry, Agatha. I'm sorry to break your ears. So basically what she said at the end was, in order to ensure the equality in Europe, you actually have to remain nation states. The EU says, come together and then you'll be equal. Mm-hmm. But in order to keep everybody equal, because somebody's going to come out on top, and you already see that happening. Emmanuel Macron is the most hated politician in his country, and yet somehow he and Angela Merkel run the European Union.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Angela Merkel is hated in her country, but somehow she gets to go and represent the European Union when it comes to world leaders meeting together.
I know.
Okay? And who made Angela Merkel the de facto voice for the European Union?
Exactly.
I mean, Jean-Claude Juncker, really? Everybody just knows he's a drunk hack, and so he doesn't, and then you've got Guy Verhofstadt, but then it's Angela Merkel. Angela Merkel runs the shebang, the whole deal. She runs the whole thing, and exactly what they wanted in Germany in the first place was to have Germans rule all of Europe, and there you have it. They're ruling it.
So what says it is the politicians, not the German people. The politicians are Nazis. Agreed. And so what is German?
The politicians are Nazis. They're Nazis. All right, so Picture Gallery is like, okay, enough with the bad news. This is a news show, and we're bringing you the highlights and the lowlights all across Europe every week. Highlights, or even the lowlights are highlights. Okay, what you see happening with more migrants in Italy, you're going to see Italy come back. Okay, you're going to see Italy come back. The people are motivated to have Salvini as their leader.
Yeah.
Don't give up hope. You have to hang on to that hope because you know it's real. The people in France are waking up, okay? The fact that Marine Le Pen and her niece have a voice in Europe is a big deal.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay? The Dutch farmers are saying enough with the, extinction, rebellion, climate change telling me to get rid of half of my livestock. That's when they are revolting. That is a huge thing. Thousands of farmers getting together on their tractors,
that's exciting.
Shutting down roads. And guess what? The Netherlands, the Dutch people, they're incredibly law-abiding, peaceful people. If they're doing that, that means that their livelihood and their lives and what they know is right is on the line. You see people in Hong Kong. Why are we seeing this all happening right now? Donald Trump was elected president, but he was elected president in an atmosphere where that year you already had Brexit. That year Marine Le Pen was up in the polls.
Yeah.
You had Guy Wilders in
Geert Wilders
in the Netherlands. And he has a voice. You have
Salvini in Italy.
Yeah, you have people who are standing up, and you do have these Steve Bannon said there's two types of populism. There is the socialist populism of like the Bernie Sanders, and then you have
but are they really populists?
Yes, they are. They are populist because what you see here is they are on our page, okay, and they see the same things we see: the corruption, the endless wars, and I would dare even say the Corbynites. A lot of them see the same problems that we see. And the thing that we need to do is join together and realize that we're fighting a globalist deep state that has been ruling the world. It is the same thing in the EU. And I want don't push out the Corbynites because half of them actually agree with you on the problems. Okay? If they're anything like the Bernieites here. Okay? They agree on the problems. It's the solutions. And I would say the traditional Republican parties, they're old and crusty and dusty, and they are the corporatists.
Okay.
They are the people who have put themselves, the global wealth with the fake fiat dollar has put the 99 or 97% of the world's wealth in the top 3% or something like that, crazy like that. Mm-hmm. And you have the Corbynites who just want to go grab it, and the Bernieites who want to go grab it. And then you have the Republicans who are the people who are grabbing it, who are the capitalists, who are the big tech, the big guys, not the big tech guys, just the big guys who make a lot of money. And you have over here what I call the red pill people, who realize that there is a wealth disparity, but don't believe that even in righting a wrong, you could just go take these fake dollars from people.
Exactly.
So you've got to come to the middle, because unfortunately the Corbynites just want the corporations to keep making the fake dollars, so they can act like little children and just grab crumbs. I don't want you to have crumbs, and this is what I would say to the Corbynites: don't be a crumb eater. Bake your own bread.
Don't be a crumb eater. Bake your
own
bread.
Under socialist policies, you're always going to have someone's always going to give you a slice of bread, and they're going to give you the crumbs. But under a Republican Constitution, a republic that we have here in America, you have the freedom to grow your own wheat, to grind your own wheat, to bake your own bread and eat your own bread. And if you are led by Christians, then you will give some of that to the poor.
Amen.
But it is a choice.
Yeah.
Socialism sees poor people and wants to go grab from the rich and give to the poor. Mm-hmm. Christians in the middle and sane people in the middle say, no, we do need to help the poor. There is a wealth disparity. We need to fix the situation that made corporations have the same rights as individuals. We need to fix the situation with the printing of fake fiat dollars. And most importantly, recognize that you are designed by God to be the master of your own universe. And in that, with Christian principles, you give to your circle.
Exactly.
If we are all walking around in a circle of influence, and we are all giving to people in our circle that need help,
right,
everyone is taken care of. And we should all be doing that. But we don't have enough ministers out there. And we don't have enough even politicians who are saying, we have a middle class in America that is so bogged down in debt, and all over the world is so bogged down in debt, so bogged down paying taxes, that they don't feel free enough to give to other people, that they're trying to stay afloat and maybe give themselves a new car and a vacation.
Yeah.
Okay. It's out of the abundance that we should be giving to poor and needy. And in giving to poor and needy, we are supposed to be helping them up so they don't continually need our help.
Right.
Okay? But you can't do that with the government restricting everything you do. You need to be able, in order to help somebody up, you have to make them an entrepreneur and not a worker.
Teach a man to fish.
But corporations and the Republicans traditionally all over the world, and I would say Republicans are very close to communists in this. They want workers. And so we have this hodgepodge of the populists, the Bernieites and the Corbynites don't want to work with the Republicans who are corporatists, but tend to be more freedom-minded, freedom to be the corporatist. And you've got you guys and us in the middle, and we have to somehow wake these people up that you can't take stuff. And you have to wake these people up and say, you can't take stuff and hoard it and be a billionaire. And AOC says there shouldn't be any billionaires, so she wants to go grab it. And I'm going to say there shouldn't be any billionaires because Jesus should be convicting you that you are hoarding up a bunch of wealth and you're going straight to hell.
Not only that, though, but our laws also, here in the United States at least, I can't speak to other governments, make it easy for these companies. They give companies the rights of humans, and they should not. And so I think that if these governments weren't given the rights of humans, then we wouldn't have the billionaires that we are seeing. So
I do have my guitar. I thought about playing Awesome God just real quick. Okay. I got something like a tickle myself. We have the cutest little dog down there just sleeping away.
So Mike Whitney has an idea for why your shirt's not being.
Why am I black?
Because he thinks it's because the camera's filtering out green screen color.
Oh, yeah, they do that. So, like, if we did have a green screen in the background, we could be, like, doing cool things in the background, right?
Possibly, yeah.
That's funny. That is so funny. See? Big bucks. If you wouldn't mind getting that paper on the table.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm going to try and make it so that you have enough room.
I have enough room.
Okay.
I can do it. So, I want you to be encouraged that every week we come to you, and I want to show you another way in how the world is coming together, and we can be separate and equal, and men can be men, and women can be women, and Polish can be Polish, and hungry can be hungry. Feed them. And the Germans can be Germany can be Germany. You know, everybody can be everybody, and you know, America's the land of the free, home of the brave, and we're a hodgepodge. But we have what we are bound together on is a set of ideals of Christian principles, and you know, we have a movement around the world, and I'm very excited about it. And it is based in the natural God-given rights of mankind, and we're seeing this Lockeanian revival. And so I think maybe tomorrow night, maybe either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, we are going to have a little mini revival here with Resistance Chicks, and we're going to call on the Holy Spirit to begin to continue, well, not to begin, but to continue to move, because there's a movement. I have a great video to show you of a young black girl who spoke and prayed for the president. It's a powerful little prayer there, and I'm very excited about what God is doing and how God is moving. But we're moving because our whole Christian, onward Christian soldiers marching, our whole movement as Christians is that we want to see people set free.
Right.
We want to stop we want to stop evil in its tracks, and we want to spread the gospel. And so we want to see happy families. We want to see living off the land, and we want to see people get back to that. So
I'm playing around with this to see what it does to your shirt, because what's behind us affects what's...
Okay.
Sorry.
So we're going to sing Awesome God.
Okay.
When he rolls up his sleeves, he ain't just putting on the red. Our God is an awesome God. There is thunder in his footsteps and lightning in his fists. Our God is an awesome God. And the Lord wasn't joking when he kicked him out of Eden. It wasn't for no reason that he shed his blood. His return is very close, and so you better be believing that our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. When the sky was starless in the void of the night, our God is an awesome God. He spoke into the darkness and created the light. Our God is an awesome God. Judgment and wrath he poured out on Sodom. Mercy and grace he gave us at the cross. I hope that we have not too quickly forgotten that our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. When he rolls up his sleeves, he ain't just putting on the wrists. Our God is an awesome God. There is thunder in his footsteps and lightning in his fists. Our God is an awesome God. And the Lord wasn't joking when he kicked him out of Eden. It wasn't for no reason that he shed his blood. His return is very close, and so you better be believing that our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. And when the sky was starless in the void of the night, our God is an awesome God. He spoke into the darkness and created the light. Our God is an awesome God.
Mercy, judgment, and wrath.
Judgment and wrath he poured out on Sodom. Mercy and grace he gave us at the cross. I hope that we have not too quickly forgotten that our God is an awesome God. Our
Good song pick for today. Well done. So I'm so glad that you guys were here with us today. Thank you to all of our moderators. Kelly's been putting all of our information in the chat. Thank you for that, Kelly. Thank you, Britt Baza, for all the links. And it's been a great show. Good job today.
We're going to call him Linky.
We'll be back on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our weekly roundup. There's going to be more to come. Now, there were some shootings and some killings and some stabbings, and a lot of things happened in the middle of the night last night. We woke up to a note from Patriot Gallery. We didn't cover a single bit of it today.
Well, it's European news. So.
It's the European news. So possibly, maybe if we have time, we might do something tomorrow. You never know. But in the meantime, please keep sharing our links wherever you can. We're on Instagram. We're on BitChute. We're on...
Just turn your head so they see all the flowers in your head.
All the flowers.
Whoa, there's a little orange one in the back.
There is, yeah. I was trying to offset the fact that it was all on one side, so I did that.
She's going to start dancing the little Macarena here.
But we're everywhere. We're on Twitter.
Salsa.
Yeah. We could do a dancing show.
You look like you really look like one of those chicas. Those chicas.
We are the resistance chicks. I need those little, those cymbals. Yeah.
That's what you're going to do.
So all of your comments are really encouraging. And so please keep leaving them. You've been commenting in the live chat. Leave your comments in the comment sections of the videos, whether it's on Facebook, on Periscope, on
anything you also want to read from the people. I like to hear from the people.
Wolf says, thank you, girls. Thank you, guys, for being here. See you all. Have a great Sunday.
Have a great Sunday, y'all.
So what says, Leah, you look like Christina Applegate? I don't think that's the first time somebody said that to you.
No, he says it.
Oh.
It's him.
Is it just so what that says
so
it?
Funny. Yeah, it's really funny.
It's not a black shirt!
It's green!
Wait. Here. Let's go back here. Let me get over here.
It's driving me crazy. It's so funny.
Now they can see it.
It's a green shirt.
It's a really pretty green shirt, too. Isn't that something? What are we going to do? Oh, poor Leah.
And the green shirt. I thought it was a happy green shirt I was going to wear today.
Below are all the different pictures that I've actually sent you there. So that's really funny.
Oh, that's funny.
So there you go. There's Leah's green shirt. We will be back on Friday. I think I already said that. We have a P.O. Box, 107 Milford, Ohio, 45150. If you send us your letters, we will read them on air. We still need to do the hoverboard video. Dale, we have not forgotten. We just haven't done it yet. We're going to do it before the weather hits, I promise. And we need to do his, you need to eat the spicy noodles.
I'm looking forward to eating them, so yeah.
So we should just make a plan. Like we should just plan, okay, we're going to do, I think it is definitely the fact that it's the green screen, because your shirt is all pixelated. Like, see how it, like, you're like moving. Yeah, you're like alive. Okay. And
it's like I have a shiny necklace on.
Yeah. And mine is not. You look like a cartoon. And I
do. That's funny.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So we love you. God loves you. God bless. Remember, it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's actually the truth. So have a blessed rest of your Sunday. Praise the Lord. Go watch our video. Watch my video that I did. We had everything but money. It's in the video section. I really want to encourage you to watch that, because I think it'll bless you as you go into this week. So,
bless your week. Bless your week off.
Bye, guys.